Nigeria's central bank has been named Central Bank of the Year. This is, of course, by centralbanking.com. It is a publication that's been following central banks now for, since the 1990s. You can see the winners up there that we've highlighted. Governor Powell of the U.S. Central Bank, Federal Reserve, named the Governor of the Year. Nigeria Central Bank of the Year. Namibia awarded for its AI intelligence initiative, and Banxico, which is the Central Bank of Mexico, for its digital transformation. But we're focusing on Nigeria today. Also, of course, following the U.S. President Trump threatening to blow up all of Iran's power facilities if they don't open up the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours. That, of course, oil prices are on the high. There is that threat. We just talked about that. The Dangote refinery, again, raising prices effective Saturday. And so, of course, higher fuel prices are going to be part of the story from last week, continuing into this week. Arise business analyst Chika Mbonu joins us to discuss all this and more. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the new week.
Today.
Fine, thank you. Good to see you.
Nobody can predict Trump.
He's a very unpredictable character.
I can't analyze Trump, but good news for our central bank.
Yes,
and we have to celebrate them.
Yeah.
But let's be honest. Nigerian economy was like before now was like a house that looks fine from outside.
Yeah.
But the foundation was very, very shaky. And so what the current CBN actually did was it wasn't cosmetic. It's more structural surgery.
Yeah.
But like every surgery, the patient will feel the pain before recovery. What did the team meet when they came on stream? Inflation was out of control. I mean, the dollar was just, Naira was almost getting extinct.
Yep.
No dollars anywhere. You saw how each time they publish the result of the airlines that have backlogged the whole world, who are always the champion, number one. Manufacturers couldn't access FX anywhere. There were multiple exchange rates. There was confusion everywhere. And it was that time, it's like entering the typical Balogun market and to buy rice. And you had a price for those inside the market, those outside the market, and those for government people. And you have multiple exchange rates then. So what did they do? I guess the things that made them win this award was, from what I've told you now, that the first when they came in, it must be that they did some things right. The unified exchange rate cleared the FX backlogs. Remember how the airlines used to taunt us? You must have dollars before you can buy a ticket. They stopped the reckless printing of money during the regime before this time around. You saw how money printing was the thing. Interest rate was raised to fight inflation. And then, of course, FX transparency, the cleaner FX market, they introduced the FM thing. This is where a lot of people will always quarrel with me, and which is basically what have been results so far, result today, and people always want me to come on air and attack. But let's be fair.
Yeah.
There are visible improvements. Notice inflation has been slowing down.
Yes.
Not like it is ended, or this thing is flowing down. That means prices are not increasing as they used to increase. Naira is more stable now.
Indeed.
Remember that time there were projections that Nigeria is finished. People say that the rate is going to move to $1 to 10,000. That was something, even reputable economists, say things like that. The FX market was more transparent.
Yep.
It's more transparent now. Remember that time, what's the pay salary? Everybody goes to buy dollars to hold. And people were buying FX what they didn't need.
Yeah.
We needed FX in December, they would buy it now because we didn't know what tomorrow was going to be. And investor confidence is returning. With the clearing of the backlogs, at that time also, the foreign portfolio investors, were not coming to Nigeria because all their matured placements, couldn't be remitted back to them.
Yeah.
But that has come back now, and the reserves are improving. Also, so the reserves are hugging $50 billion.
Yep.
So the accolades are theirs. I will give them the accolades. The system was chaotic when they came in, but at least now there's some order and structure.
Yeah.
You can see I'm rushing this section for some reasons, so that
there's a lot to discuss.
So those who normally attack me, they'll just say that maybe I'm wearing a cap already, or I'm among the city boys. You know, hey, I looked, before they give me that tag, So, but this is where most Nigerians are right.
Yeah,
the reforms have been very painful.
Yep.
And very painful. Cost of living, you already know that whether it's food or transport, the price of things have doubled or tripled in most cases. Loans have become more expensive. Pressure on businesses, higher loans, higher costs, lower demand, a lot of layoffs, people lost jobs. And then, of course, the devaluation effect of the Naira also impacted everything that we imported. At the time, it became impossible to buy drugs. Especially the drugs that were for diabetes or for, those key sicknesses. It became difficult to buy them. The drug that I used to buy 5,000 before suddenly became 50,000 Naira. And that's where, remember I said that surgery, necessary surgeries, usually will come with pain.
Yeah.
Will come with pain. So, my comment therefore is that, yes, policy must meet empathy.
Yeah.
Policy routines must meet empathy. And could some things have been done differently? There was a lot of argument there as maybe timing, should have the fuel subsidy be removed? At the same time, the FS be regulated, neither here nor there. But where I focus on is the social cushioning.
Yeah.
It was very clear then that immediately there will be transferred inflation, this impact on food, on the cost of transport. And these were the areas that government should have come in to assist, through food subsidies and all. They had the plans initially about importing food and whatever, but we don't know what happens subsequently. They have plans about transport. We don't know what happens subsequently. The SMEs, without and better communication. Better communication routes, I mean that, people need to understand where they are suffering.
Yeah.
So if you're suffering now, what are we going to gain after? And if we're suffering also, let us all suffer together. Not that some people are jamboreeing while we are suffering.
Yeah.
So we'll commend CBN for what they've done. So my segment, this that I bring into closure is that, so yes, the reforms are necessary. They were necessary. So yes, they are beginning to work. We've seen it. And even if you're the enemy, you must agree that they're beginning to work.
Yeah.
Even if nothing exists, exchange rate. Some of you that ran away to the some dollars at 1 to 600 to hold under your pillows and under your beds. It's what happened. The rate has come down now. Some of you, we have made losses. And but going forward, economic policy must not just be correct; it must be compassionate.
Yeah,
that's my recommendation. Because at the end of the day, the true measure of reform is not just stability; it's how Nigerians can actually breathe again. And Nigerians are struggling to breathe. Yeah. Our dear president, if they're not telling him very well, I must tell him that Nigerians are struggling to breathe. So macroeconomic stability is improving, thank God to CBN. Yeah. But the micro, which is at the individual level now, is really painful, And the policy success must be measured at the market. Not just in reports that you hand over to our president. Yeah. We must feel the impact at those levels.
Makes sense.
That. So we'll celebrate the CBN team that worked very hard. At the time I used to wonder that, their bullets will soon finish because, the weakness of a macroeconomic policy is, it is that by the time you implement 1, 2, 3, 4 and you don't, the car is not breaking. You're trying to break the car, you do everything, gear zero, do everything, and the car is still flying. Yeah. What are they going to do? Nothing else. But luckily for us, there'll be some sanity and stability, and then hope that growth, employment, and other things will come back to from them. Yes.
Excellent stuff. Congrats to the Central Bank of Nigeria once again. Arise Business Analyst Chika Mbonu. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.